It's time!
What is up, guys? Welcome to the Edge DFS. My name is Tyson Smith, joined by Ellie Hernandez. We are talking Showdown as usual. Sunday Night Football. It's already week 7, man. This is crazy. Tua's coming back. Pittsburgh going into Miami. Nice warm weather game. Ellie, what are your thoughts on this matchup, man? The Dolphins are favored by -7.5. Just looking at the numbers here. Do you think that's a little too much for Tua coming back in his first game? Like, we don't really know how effective he's going to be.
No, I don't think it's too much, man. Honestly, I was more just trying to find a way to be interested in this game. But I think it could be fun to watch too with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, right? That's just exciting in itself. So, but no, man, this probably should be a blowout. A line like that that's pretty high, -7.5 points. But I could see them easily winning by 10 plus here.
I do think because of this Dolphins defense, I think I know there's a rookie starting on the other side of the ball, but I think the Steelers do have a chance to at least put up some points. We'll get into that a little bit more here in a minute. But first, I did want to review the optimal lineup from that Thursday night game. This is just crazy to me. Andy Dalton, the optimal captain. Rashid Shaheed had that big touchdown, like the first drive. Juwan Johnson, 2 touchdowns. Chris Olave with a decent amount of receptions. Then you have Eno Benjamin and DeAndre Hopkins. No Kavonte Ingram, although I think the next best lineup to this actually won the 500,000 maker or whatever. That did have Keontae Ingram. So talk to me about this. Excuse me. What do you take from this? I know this may be just like an outlier. You don't want to build all your lineups like this based on the game script, but what did we learn from this particular lineup?
Look, man, when you have a quarterback in a position like this who's going to be playing down after 2 pick sixes, I think it's possible they end up in the optimal lineup when you have a score that ends up 45-31 or whatever it was. So I don't expect this to happen too often throughout the season, but keep an eye on it, man. If you think that's a plausible game script, then Andy Dalton, was probably less than 5% owned at the captain spot. It's not terrible if you're getting a discount at somebody who's going to put up a lot of points.
And, garbage time. But that also goes to show you that playing a defense against the quarterbacks, even in the captain, doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. Because that lineup that won it had Cardinals defense in it. So
yeah, and he pulled off the old Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston was on the bench, and he threw a typical Jameis Winston game there. And
it's true.
Sorry, I thought that was one ear in my head.
It is true. All right, let's get into this particular matchup. So, not necessarily the best game on paper. We did get a decent, Cardinals game there, probably because they're 2 not so great teams playing against each other. But I don't know how I feel about this. It's a 44.5 total. Miami's -355 on the money line and 7.5 point favorites. And you see that ownership skewed heavily towards Miami. So, is there how do we construct lineups for this matchup? Just looking at this on paper, Miami should win by a touchdown or more. I personally think that this game could be a little bit closer than that 7.5 point spread. I think this can actually be a game, but I do think Miami will win. So how do we approach our lineup builds here, man?
Well, first thing I think is notable is the over is favored to hit at -115, so it's not greatly favored, but it looks like people are betting towards these defenses being pretty bad. So
Yeah.
with that said, I think I think we can kind of focus on the onslaught since that's what everyone's going to be building. But hopefully, like recency bias from these shitty primetime games will get everybody expecting the under. So maybe we can think about fading defenses and kickers and going for more competitive builds for higher upside players.
Yeah. So rattle off some stats on this matchup here. Are we looking for, Miami's not the strongest defensively. Is that enough to get you interested in a Steelers defense that's just not, Steelers offense that's just not looking so hot this year? And they haven't really been looking hot for a while.
Yeah, man. So Miami, they're second in scoring for wide receivers on offense, but on the defensive side of the ball, they're just pretty bad. They allow 27th. They're 27th when it comes to points allowed to quarterback. and then 25 to wide receivers. So uh I think it kind of like leans towards going with a little bit of the skill position slightly, at least the pass game for Pittsburgh, because Najee Harris just seems to be worked out of the offense here a little bit. So
That's
the
crazy.
way that the Miami defense plays, I think you just gotta get some of these wide receivers, man.
All right, let's get into our injuries here. This is interesting to talk about. So Jalen Waddle is questionable. Are you seeing anything on your end that hints either way to whether or not he's playing, or is this a true game time decision?
I'm not seeing anything either way. I think it is going to be more of a game time decision, but I expect him to play. I think he'll be fine. Um, I don't know, man. Like, I'm just planning on him playing. Like, he's too integral on this offense that if we build with him out, it's just going to throw off everything that we're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean it is big news because if he is out, that opens up a lot of value and allows us to
Right.
potentially have some much different lineups. I do want to see Waddle play, but if he is out, that's going to give us a lot of opportunity to mess around. And speaking of that, we have a free Discord, guys. Be sure to join that. We will obviously be talking about any of these inactives when they come out and how to adjust if Jalen Waddle's out. We'll be building lineups and figuring out how to best adjust for that. Durham Smythe questionable as well. That is, typically I wouldn't even bring him up, but there have been rumors around Gesicki potentially getting traded or being open to being traded. And Smythe, for the first few games was kind of that number one guy. Gesicki wasn't really getting there. We did get a Gesicki 2 touchdown game last week, 2 gritties. But I don't know, man. Like Durham Smythe, are you going to spend more than a couple seconds thinking about him if he's out?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would be, because look, if Mike Gesicki is on the trade block, like, he wouldn't be unless they had somebody in play that position right now. And right now it feels like that's Durham Smythe. So if he's out, I think it kind of gives Gesicki a little bit of a boost. Who again, trade speculation. So
Yeah, I mean,
it's important.
and there's no reason for them not to play him like crazy to try to boost that trade
Right.
value a little bit if possible. All right, so I think we should just get right into this breakdown. Let me load this up. Let's do this, man. Break it down.
Break it down.
All right, so Tua is 11K and Kenny Pickett 9,200. Very cheap for a quarterback. We discussed this a little bit with Andy Dalton, the last slate. I believe he was, 9,400 or something to that effect. So we can't completely ignore Kenny Pickett, even if you think he's not going to have a good game. I mean, this could be a situation where he throws the ball quite a bit because they're down. I just don't know. 9,200 for Kenny Pickett. I am kind of interested in him. And obviously, Tua coming back at 11K, you see his upside. So, what are your thoughts on the quarterbacks here? Are you going to lean more towards these dual quarterback builds, or are you trying to limit one?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be trying to get both quarterbacks here. Tua is Tua. The only reason that I think you might have a viable opportunity to fade Tua is if you're concerned that maybe Mike McDaniel like holds back his overall attempts and just plays kind of a safer offense, just given just the bullshit that's happened with his injury over the past couple weeks.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, man, I love Tua. He could absolutely go off here. I mean, and then Kenny Pickett, dude. If this game is competitive at all, and again, Vegas is leaning towards the over, and it's a 7.5 point spread, Kenny Pickett's the one that's going to have to keep him in this. I don't know that Najee Harris is going to get continued work. Like, he's turning into the this decade's Derek, or not Derek Henry. Jesus, what's his name? He's an Alabama guy. But anyways, you just got
There's
to
a
use
lot of that.
out,
Doesn't
right?
narrow
Yeah.
it. That doesn't narrow it down at all. There's so many damn Alabama running backs.
Man, I should know this, bro. Anyways, it was after Eddie Lacy and before Mark Ingram. Anyways, look,
Somebody comment in the
that's
comments.
wrong
Help,
too.
help Ellie out. Comment down in the comments. Help the algorithm. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, look, man. I think you get both these guys in there. Both these guys are gonna need to be involved in this for this to stay competitive, anyways. And Kenny Pickett, man. I'd rather take him over Najee Harris and stack him up with one of the pass catchers, and I think you're good. You know.
So not to say this is going to be an ass whooping like Buffalo put on the Steelers a few weeks back, But if you look at this blowout here, you've got Kenny Pickett throwing the ball 52 times. Now, 16 fantasy points at that price tag may be enough in a game like this. But if you're interested in sort of that blowout type game script, you might see a lot of this. Maybe not 52, but you might see a lot of this. Which obviously that makes me pretty interested. I'm interested in both of these guys across the board, no matter what kind of game script I'm building. All right, so running back, let's start with Miami here. So Raheem Mostert, 7,800. He's getting a lot more volume as of late. We know his upside coming from San Francisco, and you have the same coach coming from there. He knows his upside. He's taken over this role, in my opinion. I think you'll see him, as long as he doesn't get injured, you'll start to see him get a majority of the carries. Chase Edmonds is a decent spell back, a decent guy to throw in on third down, a decent guy to take over on a drive here and there. But at 6,200, I'm not as interested in him in this particular game. We just haven't seen enough out of him. So what do we do, Ellie? If we're really talking about a potential blowout where maybe Miami's leading by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, you're going to see a lot of Raheem Mostert, and you might have seen Raheem Mostert get them to that spot when it comes to leading by that much. So we got to focus on these guys, right?
Yeah, man, and I think I'm solely focused on Raheem Mostert. A couple weeks ago, we saw a slight shift in his usage and output, and it really looks like he's the guy that's going to be working out of the backfield. He's getting twice as many attempts as Chase Edmonds, and I just continue to see that happening. Chase is going to be the spell guy, but again, he's getting the same amount of targets as um, Raheem Mostert. So I think you stick with Mostert. And again, like I like him a lot. I think he's a great way to come off of Tua. You could easily have Tyreek Hill and Waddle both in the optimal with 15 receptions and no touchdowns. I think that's what happened a week or two ago. And then if Raheem Mostert ends up with 2 rushing touchdowns and 8 yards, I think that's fine.
I mean, look at some of these rushing numbers for Chase Edmonds: 2 attempts, 1, 5, 6.
Yeah.
And in the last few weeks, since Mostert has, whether he's gotten fully healthy or whatever it is, the reason why he's back at number 1, you're just not seeing a lot from Chase Edmonds. You're seeing 2 targets, 2 receptions. Maybe he gets a touchdown out of the backfield. But Chase Edmonds at 6,200. Would I rather, who would I rather have instead of him? There's probably better options at that price tag. So maybe I'll hold off on Chase Edmonds. In this particular game. So let's move over to the other side. Interestingly enough, Najee Harris, last year and going into this year, we thought, he was the stud. He was a stud. He was a top 5 fantasy type running back. 8,200, he just hasn't been getting the carries. In the past, when we've seen him go over 20 carries, you see a lot of good things happen for this team. He just hasn't gotten there this year. He hasn't gotten more than 18 carries this year. Whether that be, they're losing or whatever the game script, whatever's happening in the game. I don't know what it is, but they really need to get this guy more involved if they're going to win some games this year. He's 8,200. Then you got Jalen Warren at 2,800 and Derek Watt at 200. Of course, I'm going to play Derek Watt in this game because if he scores a touchdown the one time I don't play him, I'm not going to be able to forgive myself. Anyways, Najee Harris, man, 8,200. I think he's going to be low owned, man. This could be like a halfway decent captain option.
So first of all, it was Trent Richardson, and I should have known that. But
Yes.
long story short, what happened was Cleveland beat the shit out of him. Right? He had like 450 attempts in his rookie year, which is similar to what Najee Harris has seen over the past 2 years. Right? He's just been getting the brakes beat off of him, and so I think this is a real concern. Like, are we going to start seeing him fall off here because he's had too much work going in? But anyways, that's for the rest of the season. For tonight, man, like he's coming in pretty low on as far as projections go. If he's really sitting 20 to 25%, like I'm just going to close my eyes and play the RB1. He had a touchdown last week. And we're looking for that 2 total touchdowns, 3 total touchdowns from Pittsburgh. So if Najee gets one, you're probably going to need him. And again, like this just a leverage. Like, if he's really 20-25%, man, I like him.
Yeah, you can't avoid him, even though he's 8,200 and he hasn't been showing a lot lately. You just can't avoid him because he's going to have one of these breakout games. I just don't know when. Let's go to wide receiver. So we got Deontay Johnson at 8K, Chase Claypool 6,600, George Pickens 6,400. These are really only the only guys that we kind of want to focus in on. You got Miles Boykin, Gunnar Olszewski, these other guys at like $400. I don't know. Think I'm going to be super interested in them. So what do we do here, man? Deontay Johnson's clearly the number one target guy. He's going to get targets. He maybe doesn't have as high of a ceiling because he is touchdown dependent, and he doesn't have as much big game opportunity that guys like Chase Claypool have, and especially guys like George Pickens. We've seen him make some incredible catches this year. 6,600 for Claypool, 6,400 for Pickens. Thoughts here, man? They're reasonably priced wide receivers going against a not so good secondary.
Yeah, so I think the first thing to say here is those are going to be the three guys that I target. I don't want any of the other guys in my player pool, and I'll probably only have one of these guys. I won't have any more pass catchers, just entirely. It'll be probably Pickett and then one of these guys, and I'll rotate them out.
Yeah.
And honestly, look, I love Deontay Johnson. I think he's viable at captain. I think he's viable at flex. All of a decent amount of them. He can be a 12 reception guy with 100 yards and no touchdowns, and that's still going to be decent for a showdown slate. But if he gets a touchdown, like that's a big deal. And then Pickens looks like he's going to be the guy that eventually replaces Claypool when they trade Claypool. It looks like he's got a pretty good connection with whatever quarterback that ends up playing. Last week wasn't necessarily the greatest, but I really think he's going to be involved to trade to replace Chase Claypool. Now, again, not to get too crazy hung up on this, but just similar to Mike Gesicki, it's clear that Claypool is on the trade block. So just don't forget about the narrative that he could possibly be showcased, right? Let's see if Pittsburgh can get a little bit more for trade value, right? If Green Bay really wants to make a move for Claypool, they're going to have to be a little bit aggressive. So I expect him to be a little bit more focused here. But I think that's why I like him a little bit more a captain, kind of just like every other Steelers slate we do, is because he has that high upside. If he takes 2-3 catches, he has the opportunity to take one to the house. So that's where I'm at with that. I think you max out at one.
I do really like in this particular matchup trying to set a rule to get one of these guys in every one of my lineups. If we're doing 4-2 or 5-1 onslaughts, I don't mind having Deontay Johnson or Claypool or Pickens as that 1 or 2 in my lineup, paired with whoever else, and I'll probably have that also maybe for the tight end here as well. Let's go to Miami side here. So obviously Jalen Waddle, he's dealing with some issues.
Yeah, just pain. It was pain everywhere.
We'll have to see what happens. Pay attention to the inactives at 6:50 Eastern or whatever it is. Will be in the Discord as well. But Tyreek Hill at 11.2K, Jalen Waddle at 9,600. Let's talk about them first. If they're both healthy, Jalen Waddle has a shoulder injury, so I don't know how much that's actually going to affect him. Out there running routes, probably not a lot. So maybe he can overcome this injury if he is active. We got two guys here that I'm highly interested in, and I want to play both of them together potentially. Is that going to be possible with their price tags?
Yeah, man, I think it's going to be possible. I think both are also great captain options, while we're here. But look, I think the way to look at Jalen Waddle and his injury is more of like Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Paul George, right? Like these guys are just going to constantly carry that questionable tag. He's a smaller framed wide receiver. Where he takes a hit, he feels it, and it's week 6, week 7, so he's just starting to feel a little bit more. But the problem here is he's 4.2 speed. So him and Tyreek Hill, man, like they're on the field. I'm playing as much as I can of both of them. I will try and get both of them into as many lineups as I possibly can.
Yeah, and you're going to see a lot of people, a little bit more worried about Jalen Waddle with that Q tag, and possibly just building lineups before they know he's even active or not, and just leaving him off just in case. So you might see a little bit of a decreased ownership, just a little bit. But him compared to Tyreek Hill will probably be one of the top, played guys on this slate. So you can get some leverage by putting Jalen Waddle in, sometimes fading a little bit of Tyreek Hill, and playing a little bit more Waddle, and putting Waddle at captain as well is huge, I think, in this particular matchup, because there's so much leverage there compared to his opportunities that he's going to get to be the optimal captain to where he's going to be owned. I think that there is some leverage to be had. So if Waddle's out though, who stands to benefit? You got Cedric Wilson, $200. You got Trent Sherfield, 4,600, former Cardinal, River Craycraft, former 49er, Freddie Swain. These are all like these cheap guys that we've seen in the past on quite a few different teams that we always try to talk about here. If Jalen Waddle's out, you got to consider every one of these guys, right? And who stands to benefit the most with Waddle being out besides Tyreek Hill?
I think Sherfield kind of moves into that number 2 wide receiver role, and then they'll use Cedric Wilson to kind of play some more of the explosive routes that you'd normally see from Waddle. They'll kind of spread it out between those two guys, I really think, and then maybe sprinkle in some Cray or Craycraft, whatever the hell his name is, and Freddie Swain maybe. But again, like just find whoever you can, play them. If you're doing 20 entries, like maybe you have 3 with Cedric Wilson and 1 with Craycraft. Like that'd be a reasonable ratio. It still might be a little bit too high in Cedric Wilson. I will have a lot of Cedric Wilson if Jalen Waddle's out though. But $200, why not?
And we haven't really had any like reliable or exciting value to mention in this particular matchup. Now, if Jalen Waddle's out, there will be that option, but as of right now, there's just not that value pick that's just popping out to me on paper. So I'm gonna have to be spread out quite a bit when it comes to these like cheaper guys if I want to play them at all. So tight end here, Mike Gesicki. Obviously, we had chatted about him. He's on the trade block potentially. Do they want to showcase him a little bit more? He did score 2 touchdowns that last week. He has been looking pretty good. We know what his upside is. We know he's a 2 touchdown type guy and 5 to 10 targets type guy. But is he going to see the ball at all? I think he's a very boomer bust play, and I think he is a captain option on these bigger tournaments with at least a couple lineups. But we talked about it in the opening with the injuries. Smythe is questionable as well. So what do we do here? If Smythe is out, does that make you like Gesicki even more?
Yeah, I think it does. And I just kind of had a weird thought here. Like, if looking at this wide receiver core, who do they have to just stand up and catch a pass in the end zone, right? If they're in the goal line and they need a 7-yard pass, like it sounds like they got to go to Gesicki or Smythe, whoever their tight end is. Those are the
Yeah,
biggest bodies that they have. So,
yeah.
look, I think that makes for an interesting option tonight. Pittsburgh, they're not great on defense, but I expect them to play well inside the 20. So I like Gesicki. I think that he's going to be showcased a little bit. It's one of these guys, right? They're going to showcase Gesicki, or we're going to see Claypool go up. One of these guys are going to get traded here pretty quickly. So I really think it's Gesicki tonight, man.
Yeah, and his ownership is probably going to be under 20% total in the flex, and maybe just total in this whole matchup. So he's this high upside, high risk, high reward, but he could also get you a 0. So that is
Yeah.
appealing to me if I'm playing tournaments of over 100,000 entries. Putting Mike Gesicki at captain maybe in a few could really help you out there if you're looking to get a different. All right, so let's go to the other side. Pittsburgh's tight ends: Pat Fryermuth, 5K; Zach Gentry, 3,200; Connor Hayward, 2,200. Pat Fryermuth here is obviously the guy that we want to focus on. He's up and down, but he does have those moments where you'll get a 15 fantasy point game out of him, or even a 12-point game out of him in a game like this. Could be just enough. And that price tag of 5K is pretty nice. You could, depending on your builds, rotate him and Gesicki out if you wanted to get that like last spot or second to last spot. But I don't know. Thoughts here, man. 5K for Fryermuth, interested here, or would you rather go up to Gesicki?
No, man, I think I think you're fine getting a little exposure to Pat. I'm not even trying to say his last name. But Pat, he's fine. You get him stay with the field. I don't think you really need to go crazy with it. If he catches a touchdown, you probably want him with Kenny Pickett. Maybe not, but at 5K, like he's a fine way to get up to Waddle and Hill if you're trying to get both those guys.
All right, let's move over to defense and kickers. Jason Sanders, 4,400. Chris Boswell, 4,200. These kickers are a little bit more expensive than we usually see in that 38 to 4K range. It doesn't really mean a whole lot. It just means the way they crunch their algorithm for DraftKings or whatever. But 4,400. 4,200. I don't know, man. You just got to get with the field with these kickers. Maybe they'll be a little bit more popular because it's a little bit lower of a total. If we think that this game can hit the over, which I think it might, maybe I just go a little bit less on the kickers. If you had to choose one, would you maybe go with Boswell for a team that maybe can't punch it in the red zone?
Yeah. Well, no, I think I'd be leaning a little bit more towards Jason Sanders. They're favored, right? They're more likely to take points when they stall out, right? If second half the Steelers are actually down by 7 points, they're going to need to kick, or they won't be able to kick. It's not going to do anything. So I prefer Jason Sanders, but again, those price tags are kind of crazy.
Defense, Dolphins defense 4K, Steelers defense 3,800. We're not talking about really great defenses here, to be honest. So if each one of these defenses is coming around 15% each, how do you play this? Limit it to one. You're probably not doing two defensive lineups here. And of course, as I say that, that'll probably be in the optimal. But how do you handle in this?
Yeah, I don't know. I necessarily want either defense, to be honest with you, man. I think the Dolphins are fine if you think they can get a pick six, but that's where I'm at.
Well, you never know what can happen. I mean, we saw two pick sixes and the opposing quarterback as the optimal captain. So who freaking knows what's going to happen? Let's get to our crown their ass segment, our favorite tournament option for captain.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
Elliot, you're going Waddle. I'm going Mostert here. Talk to me.
Yeah, man. Waddle's price, honestly, you can get him, Hill, and Tua, and still pretty much do what you need to do. And I think he's probably going to go for 2 touchdowns tonight.
Yeah, I love Waddle. Obviously, love Hill. Mostert to me is sort of a dart throw when it comes to tournaments and trying to get a little bit of a cheaper guy so I can fit in Waddle and Tua, or Waddle, Tua, and potentially Hill, or some combination of that. I don't hate having Tua and Mostert in the same lineup. Because we could get this game script where Tua comes out and slings the ball quite a bit and gets a lead, and then we see Mostert being fed in the fourth quarter. I like Mostert because of his touchdown upside, and we know what he's capable of. He's one of these guys that can get you 3 touchdowns in a random game, and you just got to have him at captain. If he does that, you're screwed if you don't. All right, let's go to our fade.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
I don't really have too much of any bold takes here. I personally don't like the backup running backs on either team. Chase Edmonds or whoever the hell the other guy is for Steelers. I usually don't want to touch the Steelers backup running backs, but you're talking multiple skill players for the Steelers. So, like you were saying in the wide receiver portion, you probably don't want to get two of those guys, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking Kenny Pickett, wide receiver, Kenny Pickett, Najee Harris, Kenny Pickett, tight end, maybe running back and pass catcher. But even that's going to be minimal.
All right, let's get to our lineup build. Throw us a like, guys. We really appreciate it. We are trying to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark. Hit that subscribe button for us. It really does help. We are bringing you 3 different shows a week, 3 different island games. So please help us out with that subscribe. We are very close to our goal. This is the optimal, and I picked Mostert before I even saw this optimal crunch here. But Mostert is the captain here. Jason Sanders, Pat Freiermuth, George Pickens, Tua, and Hill. I don't hate this lineup. I think it's fine. You got a 4-2 here with Mostert at captain, who's probably going to be pretty low owned in that captain spot.
Yeah, I would like to see a quarterback if you're going to have 2 pass catchers from Pittsburgh, but other than that, that's fine.
Yeah, so let's build our own here. So let's start with Hill. All right, I think Hill's going to be the highest owned captain. So let's try to find a decent lineup that we can sleep at night with, but not nothing too crazy here. So you want to put Tua in the flex with him?
Yeah, let's throw in Waddle and just see kind of where we're at.
See where we're at. All right, so 4,000 a pop. So we're gonna have to probably grab one of these real cheap guys, which there's not I'm not too confident in either of those. Let's find our Pittsburgh guy here. We probably want to do a 4-2 here. Do you want to try to? I don't even think we can get a Pickett and anybody else. We're gonna have to either put Pickett in and go value Steeler, or maybe get a Deontay Johnson or something.
Let's try something real quick. Do Deontay Johnson and then Jalen Warren.
Okay.
I think that's still going to put us at a punt here for.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is going to be kind of hard to build these lineups here.
Yeah.
You got 1,800, so you can go like a Durham Smythe if he's active. That's pretty much it. You go down to Craycraft, Ingold, Boykin, all those dudes like that, the Cedric Wilsons of the world, and you probably would rotate them out. But I'm just not feeling it.
So I guess we have to pull out Waddle, yeah.
I think we have to. I think unless more value opens up for this slate somewhere with somebody being out, I don't know how you could comfortably build with Waddle in here, unless you wanted to pull out Tua. But
no, let's throw your boy in Mostert. Let's throw in Hill, Tua, Mostert. I like that.
Okay.
And then you want to go Kenny Pickett?
Yeah, let's go Kenny. Let's throw in. I mean, George Pickens even at 6,400. Can't do that. We can't do a lot with Tyreek Hill captain. Man, 5,200. So let's just try to throw a kicker in and see what that gets us if we wanted to go conservative. Do you want to go Kenny Pickett and Boswell to cover your bases there on the other side?
Yeah, that's fine.
So you're gonna have to. This is still, like I said, I'm not excited to play River Craycraft. I'm not excited to play Ingold. I mean, I would probably choose Boykin here, but it does not excite me at all. I mean, maybe if Waddle's out, Cedric Wilson maybe at $200, but we're gonna have to. Here, let me just crunch with Hill at captain and see what it wants us to do. Cedric Wilson, Freiermuth, Pickett, Tua. I mean, this is kind of this was very close to what we built minus Freiermuth, right?
Yeah.
So this is the kind of build you're going to have. Let's do one without Tua. All right, let's do one without Tua.
And just real quick, like just pointing out, like there was only a handful of builds there, right? So that means Tyreek Hill, if he's 15% captain, there's only a certain amount of builds that are possible with that. So 8% of those lineups are all going to be one of those builds.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's
estimation, true. But yeah,
it's
so
true.
pull out Tua.
Unless you get way off the wall, which I don't know that we want to do that much in this one. Do you want to put in? I mean, this sounds crazy without having Tua, but like you said, Jalen Waddle, these guys get heavy receptions, and then Mostert jams one in. Jams a couple in. Let's try this.
Throw in Mostert.
Yeah, let's try this. This gives us a little bit better of a shot here. So you could do Kenny Pickett, or you could do like a Najee Harris. I mean, where do we go here?
I think I'd rather go Deontay Johnson than Najee. So let's see can we do. And that puts us 7,800.
Yeah, can't do Najee. Oh, I mean, kind of. So we'd have to sort of fade Deontay and go with Claypool or Pickens.
Let's go with throw in Claypool. Let's start there.
Claypool or Pickens, because there's a $200 difference there. You could switch either one out. And then who do you want to get? You want to get Najee? See if we can jam in one last guy here for 1,000. It's going to be the same situation we just went through. So Craycraft, Cray, Ingold, Boykin, Cedric Wilson. For now, I'll put Cedric Wilson in just because he's probably got the highest upside if Jalen Waddle's out. But these are the type of builds, man, with Tyreek at captain. I don't hate this build. We're doing zero quarterback here. That could make us unique enough. So let's go ahead and let's use another option here. Who do you want to use? You want to go Jalen Waddle?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we're going to save about 2.1K overall by putting him at captain. That could help us out just enough we can get similar builds. So let's do this. Let's do Tua. Let's do Hill. This is what we wanted. Let's see if we can do it now.
Let's do Pickett.
Yeah. I don't think you can do Pickett, man.
Oh, hold on. Throw in Jalen Warren.
Okay. 1,400. So we're
and
back.
Durham Smythe.
We're back to Smythe, Craycraft. We're back to all these kind of scrub type players here in this last spot. But you're kind of punting twice here with Warren and whoever this last guy is. So let's get rid of Pickett. Let's go with we go with Najee. We could do Deontay. We save a little bit of money.
Let's go George Pickens.
All right, George Pickens, high upside. Maybe we get kicker here, or I don't know. What do you want to do with this last Pittsburgh spot, or do you want to pick our Miami guy first?
Let's see. Let's go with let's throw in Jason Sanders and see where we're at. I still
All
think it's
right.
going to put us in this terrible zone.
2,600. Not as bad of a zone, but still not great. We're looking at,
Connor Hayward, that's all
Connor
we got.
Hayward, that's all we got out of it. So it's another Durham Smythe, Cedric Wilson type build. Don't love that either. It's
let's pull Tua and throw in Mostert.
All right.
And then go from Pickens to Pickett and see where we're at.
Pickens to Pickett, 7,400. So kicker. So we're in that like sort of 2 kicker range, like kicker and then maybe 1 punt, or defense, or something to that effect. I'm still not happy with that. Let's just Let's throw in Boswell and see. It doesn't get us anything. 3,200. So Zach Gentry, whatever. It's still, this last spot is an absolute punt. Let's kill Pickett, and let's go with like Deontay, or let's start with Deontay and see what that does for us. Let's go to kicker. Let's get back Boswell. Let's see, 4,400. That gets you Jason Sanders. If you wanted to do this double kicker thing, that would work for you. I'd rather just go down a little bit. Let's see what we can get. If we go down, you got defenses or Zach Gentry. You're kind of in that same spot. This pricing is real tough on this one. It is. So what you could do here is get away from Deontay Johnson and go down to Claypool or Pickens. Either one. They're both going to plug in there pretty well. And at 5,800, that's going to get you Gesicki, Freiermuth. You kind of have to throw out your 4-2 stacks here at a certain point and just get the best player. But you have a lot of these options. I probably would go with Gesicki here. So that is a nice little 4-2, although you are dealing with no quarterback and 3 pass catchers, which is scary, obviously. But at a certain point, we're just going to have to make some tough decisions here. Let's get off of Waddle. Let's go a little bit lower because we are having some issues building here. What do you think, Mostert? You want to do a Mostert one here? Build our own?
Yeah, let's do Mostert.
So right off the bat, let's do a Kenny Pickett, Deontay or something to that effect. We got to get ourselves some more passing game here. Do you want to do a 2-4?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go Tua. You want to? Tua and Mostert.
Tua and Mostert. Pickett, Deontay. Let's try to get like a Freiermuth in here or something. And that leaves us 5,100. This is a very balanced lineup. You could get a Trent Sherfield if you feel like he's going to have any options there, which that's not bad. Although it's not. This is a 3-3, right? Yeah. So you could just go Chris Boswell.
And then if you got Chris Boswell there, you can go up from Tua, go to Tyreek, or Waddle might even be down. So you have flexibility there.
Yeah, so you can pull Tua and go to whoever you want. Yeah, you could go. Yeah, you absolutely could go Hill. Yeah, not bad. Let me save that one. So we're seeing a lot easier builds here with Mostert for sure. Anything else you want to talk about here? Do you want to do another lineup? Do you want to do some random captain that maybe has some high upside?
Throw Gesicki in there.
I knew it. I knew it was coming. Let's do it. All right, Gesicki going into the captain spot. Okay.
Tua. Waddle
over Hill. Okay.
Pickett.
Okay. Kenny. Who you pairing with him?
Let's go Deontay Johnson.
Not bad for 8K. It leaves you 4,400, man.
Jason Sanders.
Is not bad, dude.
Kicker.
Hey, I like that. Risky with Gesicki, but man, if you can pull off, a touchdown and 5 receptions for Gesicki, man, that could be dangerous. So after we've built some lineups, man, what do you think? How are you feeling about the slate? The pricing's gonna be tight. Not that I don't want to see Jalen Waddle miss the game, but if he did miss the game, it would make things a little bit easier on us to find some of that value. So what did you come out with after building these lineups, man? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the pricing's a little more efficient than I initially thought, so it might be a little bit tougher to get as much of the Waddle captain that I like. But, I also, again, it sucks sometimes, but $200 getting 0 is not the same thing as $3,200 getting 0. So if you're feeling too concerned, it might be a little safer to sometimes punt. So, that, I don't have a problem playing those guys.
If you really are wanting that, Tyreek Hill with Tua and Waddle, or with Tua and another stud, you're gonna have to. You might be better off just making that decision to rotate out 5 or 6 different lineups with those value guys at that last spot. That might be, if you think that Tua has that, or I'm sorry, if you think that Hill has the highest upside, you might be better off doing that. All right, so what are your thoughts on final score here, man? Prediction, and also who's the low-owned random bullet that you think can score in this game?
Final scores 31-13 Miami. Random bullet is Durham Smythe. I think that's his first name. Smythe,
if he plays, yeah. I think we're looking at like a 28-27, very close Dolphins win here, in my opinion. But I think it'll be a little bit more competitive than we think. At least I'm hoping so. Hopefully this isn't another 12-9 game. But hey, we'll see. All right, thanks guys. We appreciate it. We will see you for Monday Night Football. Take it easy.